că ai acceptat invitația și vreau să te întreb, e prima dată când intervii la un concert în Arad?
Da, e prima oară, da. Pentru mine că sunt aici în Arad și este o sală extrem de frumoasă. Mă bucur foarte mult să fiu aici.
Pe lângă asta aș vrea să întreb, știu că activitatea ta s-a axat și pe muzica camerală. Ce te atrage la această muzică, la muzica camerală?
Rolul meu ca violistă. Eu schimb harmoniile și e rolul meu cel mai important să schimb culorile cu instrumentele care sunt mai în evidență decât mine în momentul ăla. Și asta este un rol care cred că și mă descrie ca om foarte bine. Și din punct de vedere a sunetului violii în cadrul de muzică de cameră.
Ai o aură foarte pozitivă, foarte emani fericire, ai și emani o aură foarte pozitivă.
Mulțumesc.
Crezi că îți influențează această aură muzica? Muzica influențează sau viața influențează muzica sau muzica viața?
O întrebare complicată. Mai ales pentru mine, pentru că muzica mă acompaniază deja o viață. Deci, dacă am o sursă pozitivitate, atunci sigur este dragostea familiei mele, bineînțeles, dar și muzica. N-am cum să desprind viața mea de muzică.
Vorbind despre familie, crezi că tatăl tău, domnul profesor, crezi că te-a influențat să alegi această cale?
Precis. A fost un exemplu, nu numai pentru mine, pentru numeriți, incredibil de mulți muzicieni și nu numai ca violist a fost un exemplu, și ca om. Deci să iei drumul ăsta ca muzician a fost cel mai bun exemplu, să fie o viață împlinită.
Crezi că te-ai simțit cumva ca și cum a fost pusă presiune pe tine, ținând cont că tatăl tău a fost un muzician atât de bun?
Nu. Eu mai întâi am fost violonistă. Deci am schimbat instrumentul abia după ce am născut prima fetiță. Deci la 23 de ani abia am schimbat instrumentul și m-am pus să studiez la violă și am făcut studiile și la violă. Dar presiune niciodată. Nu, pentru că tata tot timpul mi-a lăsat de ales ce drum iau. Și dar tot timpul, asta este ceva care mi-a zis-o de mică, dacă nu te faci muziciană, trădezi Dumnezeu. Da. Deci,
ai simțit o diferență când ai trecut de la vioară la violă?
Da, bineînțeles. Stilul în care să duci arcușul, de exemplu, ca să poți să creezi sunete sănătoase, să spun așa, este cu totul altfel decât la vioară. Și dacă ar fi după mine, mulți violoniști ar începe să cânte și la violă, să vadă cum este să creezi un sunet sănătos și plin. Este ceva care, fără să spun un nume, ceva, dar la unii violoniști le lipsește chestia asta. Ce le lipsește la violiști este de deseori tehnica briliantă. Dar nici nu este un instrument care cere, este un instrument unde trebuie să produci un sunet frumos. Asta este și mai important.
Ai o violă foarte, e una foarte veche și foarte, are o istorie foarte interesantă. Ne poți spune mai multe despre ea?
Da, este datată pe deci luna clar că nu știu, dar știu anul,
Da,
1536. Deci extrem de bătrână, în secolul ăsta face 500 de ani. Și există mondial numai încă 2 oameni care cântă așa un instrument care l-am și eu, de la același producător de instrumente, exact. Girolamo Brenziu se chema, domnul sau producătorul violelor. Și unul din ei este Lawrence Powell, un violist care cântă instrumentul și încă un instrument era în mâinile lui Giurana, dar acum instrumentul s-a dus la Filarmonia din Berlin. Deci este în mâna de la unul de la Filarmonia din Berlin și a 3-lea instrument la mine.
Deci ai în posesie un instrument foarte prețios.
Incredibil de prețios, da. Care l-am moștenit la tata.
Simți că acest instrument sună diferit față de unul normal? Pentru că am auzit foarte des că aceste instrumente care au o anumită vechime și sunt făcute de anumiți oameni care se ocupau cu asta mai de mult, sună diferit, parcă captează altcumva sunetul.
Tata tot timpul a zis că este un sunet extrem de catifelat. Bineînțeles, instrumentul nu sună singur.
Da.
Dar există instrumente la care trebuie să te străduiești și mai mult să poți să faci aur din sunetul care iese. Și la instrumentul ăsta este, aș zice, mai ușor. Trebuie să-l înțelegi. Trebuie să înțelegi care îi sunt adâncimile și care îi sunt... Există, bineînțeles, ca la fiecare instrument, probleme care trebuie să fie rezolvate, dar instrumentul ăsta răspunde la dorințele muzicale foarte ușor. Și asta este un cadou.
Și legat de programul pe care l-ați pregătit,
Mhm.
ți se pare că ți se potrivește? Pentru că eu când l-am văzut, mi s-a părut ceva un pic, nu neapărat romantic, dar un pic spre zona aia de pozitivitate, nu e...
Este mai melancolic programul, dar ca fiecare muzician, probabil că prin afară par optimistă și pozitivă, dar fiecare din noi cunoaște adâncimile. Fără adâncimile melancolice, n-am putea să facem muzica care o facem.
I read about you that 23 years old, you was the principal viola of the London Philharmonic Orchestra. Can you tell us about that? How does it feel? Because it's such a young age.
Yes, maybe I will start a little bit earlier.
Okay.
When I came out of Soviet Union and was accepted in the Hochschule Hamburg in the class of Marius Nikitiano, of Andra's father. Of course, I understood that the world in the West has gone some steps forward, especially stylistically. And Professor Nikitiano was an incredible person. Everybody who knew him talks about him in one sentence, musician and person. And I came, of course, from the Soviet school when everything has to be like this and like that. And he was just telling me all the time, oh, you play so beautiful, it's so nice and all that. But then he takes the viola, plays 2 notes, and they say, Professor Nikitiano, you're saying I'm playing so good, but you play 2 notes and they are so much better than anything. He had fantastic talent, fantastic skill, and he started to introduce me also to the orchestral world. Because in Soviet times it was kind of, if I go to orchestra I didn't succeed as soloist. But suddenly I saw my teacher, who was the solo viola of Norddeutscher Rundfunk in the Air Hamburg, and solistically was much better than some soloists I knew. And his qualities, I remember his incredible strokes and incredible lightness, and on the viola, incredibly clear at the same time. I was looking at that, and then I remember once I asked him, we used to say that if you go to orchestra you should play worse, but you play, so how is possible? And he says, look, if you play in very good orchestra, you only get better. And this I heard with 17 from my teacher. And then in my mind was getting to a great, and he was also pointing out, when you get to the orchestra, you will play composers which you never play on the viola. Composers like Bruckner, Mendelssohn, we have only one sonata, but Schumann and all this, so much stylistic, and then you go Baroque, and then you go classical and modern, and all that. I remember so well the lessons in modern music which Professor Nikitiano gave me when I was, we always wanted to play something romantic. So, and then quite soon after beginning of my studies, I first went to play for 1 year in orchestra in Norway, in Stavanger Symphony Orchestra. Then I changed to Komische Oper Berlin, where I was a sub-principal viola. It's a kind of front desk position, but not the leader. So then I was 20 and started to collect the experience. I had also very good first violist, Eberhard Wünsch, who was just this exemplary German, knew every word of the stage, and I also saw, okay, even in the opera you can be a musician in the orchestra. So, and then I played my audition for London Philharmonic. First I was shocked, because I thought like, oh, yeah, so then I got this probation period, which was a tour with Kurt Mazur, starting in London, by the way, with the violist soloist Yuri Bashmet, with Walter Concerto. Yes, so, and then we had a tour in 3 weeks, in United States. That was absolutely amazing experience for me, because always also I recalled the words of my teacher, how much orchestra can develop. We played Symphony by Prokofiev, number 5, we played Symphony by Bruckner, number 7, and we played Eulenspiegel and all that. All these things I was just practicing by memory and all that. So then when I arrived first day, yeah, it was also quite difficult in London, because the transport is so bad. So I went out from home very, very early, but arrived still just 5 minutes before. But next day I went even out even earlier, arrived 2 hours before the door was closed. So it's a kind of all these stories. But of course, from people like Kurt Mazur, gigantic musician, you know, and you do Bruckner with him, and you understand that the music with, of course, very inspiring also the orchestra. My second viola used to be my father's age, even a bit older than my father, so we had 38 years difference. Yeah? He knew, of course, everything much better, but very supportive, very supportive. It was an amazing experience. I thought it was another education. The musical education is practical education, and I would advise actually every good player get to a great group of people as soon as possible, because then you learn from your colleagues, you learn from conductors, and you learn from repertoire. And that was what was so amazing. Of course, I'm sure I had some, you know, I was very active. With 23. I wanted to kind of, and then I saw that the section plays anyway, and then I started to calm down a little bit and listen more. This what happened in few maybe weeks, that I just tried to calm down and listen more, because they played so fantastic. And then after this, I did 10 years, and all these 10 years, every day was something special. And I think this, you know, nobody of us wants to live alone, yeah, be alone, have no family, no kids, no friends, nobody, but we all want to be soloists. So I think a group of great musicians is the best what can happen to a musician. The same in chamber music, the same in the orchestra. So this kind of totally transformed me as a musician, and also brought me to conducting, changing the conducting career.
I really wanted to ask you that question. How did you go from an orchestra, working on an orchestra, to going solo violinist and conductor? How did
so this, you know, when I felt that the experience I had in orchestra was great, but maybe I didn't want to do it until my pension. So I started, I accepted a teaching position. It was first in Vienna, and then I started to kind of look for other activities. It never happened like I decided I become a conductor. So first what happened, I used to do concerts with orchestra without conductor. Yeah, play a concerto, usually classical, sometimes even like a Britten Lacrimae I did without conductor, a bit more advanced pieces. And then usually second half was a symphony like Mozart or Haydn, where you don't need so many conducting skills, but you can just rehearse with people and then they play wonderfully. So, and then it went kind of one after others, but it was especially with the orchestra with whom I still work in Ukraine, in Solviv orchestra. And they asked me every time, next time, to conduct bigger and bigger program. And at some point I arrived there where I had to make education as a conductor. So I went and studied with a fantastic conductor, Vasily Sinaisky. And of course took also some master classes. I have few kind of inspirers, one of them Vladimir Yurovsky, and of course, Kirill Petrenko, with whom I worked at the commercial opera. This is all inspirers, yeah. I would like to wish they would be my teachers, but we went and talked through a lot of scores. And then now I work with a lot of conductors closely still, and take parts in the festivals when the festival orchestra has to be coached and all that. One of them is Jukka-Pekka Saraste, you know, with whom I usually mentor there for the orchestra. So all that kind of contributes one to each other. So there was never kind of a decision I go and change to conducting now, but I just felt that the orchestra experience was kind of good enough, early enough, and now it's maybe better to do something else. And, you know, we spoke actually about this today, you know, like that chamber music or teaching and conducting is actually not so far. Because when you are here at the podium, you don't need to teach people, but you have to have a nice educating and uniting qualities in you to convince people to play this or that way and explain why that goes like this and that like this, you know. So the same you do with students, and then in chamber music, you know, you communicate with people, and here you establish communication. So that's all these things are kind of they're much closer, and they used to be very close, you know. When we look at the history, before 19th century, there was no simple musician who played only one instrument. It usually used to be they played keyboard plus something. Some of them played like extreme case telema, played all the existing instruments back then, which means incredible skill because each string instrument was tuned differently. All the gambas and tiormas and all that stuff. So he played horn and trumpet and posaun, everything he played. So there was this kind of multi-instrumental, and of course every good musician was composing something and conducting. You know? That was all belonging to one to other. Today people look a little bit this side, you are violist or you are conductor. I don't think it should be the case. I think, of course, we always measure how much we can do, but it's possible to actually join and learn from one, you know. For example, I noticed when I study the scores, but then I take viola or violin and play through some parts, I said, my tempo idea is too fast, it's unplayable, you know. So, I mean, as a conductor, I should maybe demand only things which I'm able to play myself, you know, so that if you have an idea of great fast tempo, but there's very quick notes, you need to know, yes, fast tempo, but give people the possibility to play their parts well, you know, so that's the, yeah.
Yes, I want to ask you that question. You think musicians are also artists. Do you think that musicians should experience with a lot of instruments in order to evolve?
In the young age, I would support that. In the young age, I would support very much, let's say, 2 instruments to play for each child, and one of them keyboard and one something else. Because I see the problem of, you know, like single line instrument, which doesn't have harmony. If we play only that, then we start to play with piano, with orchestra, and we struggle to accumulate other voices, to accumulate contrapoint, to accumulate harmony. But that I would very much, of course, at some point, because today's requests for technique are very high. Yeah. So at some point the person chooses one instrument, but I would not cancel totally what I was able to do. For example, in my class, I noticed I have few students, viola students, who are quite good on the piano, and they immediately notice that, you know, and then I make them learn their accompaniments, and then, you know, I play with you, yeah, and now you play with me. What do you feel? I should not do ritardando. Okay, you know, so that's very helpful anyway, yeah, and I think for, you know, we have now a lot of choice for kids, you know, they can go online and look whatever. I think for practical things, for musical things, it's very nice if they have the choice, because someone has the character for brass and someone has the character for voice or strings.
You also mentioned Ukraine. I know you're a peace ambassador.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how does did classical music have to suffer this time?
From the war,
Yeah.
very much, very much.
How it's changed the classical music industry?
I mean, first, I don't know if you heard, but there is a very strong line not to allow Russian musicians to play in the European Union.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different opinions, but unfortunately, the Soviet Union and Russia always used arts to cover up bad things. And this is why I think this decision is right. I was always very close connected to Ukraine. My grandfather is from Dnipropetrovsk, and I kept very close relationships to this orchestra in Lviv. I also was guest conducting in Kiev Opera. And musicians are incredible there, and they definitely have something to show to Europe, and they need to have now more chances. The Ukrainian orchestras, Ukrainian musicians should have more chances. Of course, this criminal war from the Russian side did a lot of harm to people who have nothing to do with it. Yeah? There's a lot of musicians, wonderful people, who would like just to play, and they ask, oh, why can we not play? But unfortunately, the responsibility is carried by everybody, yeah? And now it's very difficult to say apart who did voice himself against the war, who didn't voice. I think as a human beings, we will never support the aggressor. We never say, oh, he beat someone. And in that case, you know, like a bigger country, bigger military power attacks smaller military power, yeah? Trying to also to show them that they are not. So that is, of course, but it did influence arts in maybe more than COVID, I would say. More than COVID, yeah. So, and there is a lot of contacts, you know, people who love to play with each other, you know. Now I will not play with Russian musicians either. Those who are coming from Russia to, you know, because some people say, oh no, we just do it kind of this way. We wait until this situation is resolved, and then I hope there will be a lot of, especially from people who are supporting supporting Ukraine, supporting the right side, and speaking something. Of course, the people in Russia who tell something against their heroes, but there's not many, unfortunately. Yeah? But it disconnected all the ties, you know. It disconnected all the ties between Russia and the West. And for my taste, not enough ties are built up between Ukraine and EU, because the Ukrainian orchestras don't travel enough. We went with Lviv to Switzerland and Germany, but there's not so much, you know. I wish there would be more. Yeah.
How could, I have this question for both of you. Mm-hmm. How could musicians can attract the public? Because here in Romania, I think we have a problem with the public, like young people are not attracted to the Philharmonic, because they just don't see it like a place for young people. But in other countries, the Philharmonic is more promoted to this kind of public.
Do you want to answer? Okay, I could. It's just my opinion. Yes. I think it starts with the education system. If you are going with a oh no, in English is fine. If you're going with your when the kids are in the kindergarten, they can go to classical kids concerts. You can make education programs for kids where they can have an own experience how it is to play different kind of instruments. Yes, to try them, and so that it's not a big barrier between the younger people and this institution. Yeah, it is an institution, an old one, and yes, our audience is often an old one, but I think you have to start in the education system. This is the beginning. so that the new generations are also thinking that it's something valuable to come and to listen to this special kind of music. I see it also in my own children and also in my students that I teach. And
totally agree with that, but also I think there's some marketing solutions, you know. I saw recently in Köln at the Philharmonie, I think it was with Götzenich Orchestra, they gave 2 concerts, very normal, and the third one, without program change, I think it still was Bruckner 5 or Bruckner 4, only for until 20 years old. 28 years old. And they hang it out everywhere in Köln, yeah, with a cool language advertisement, you know,
okay.
very, hast du keinen Bock auf Klassik oder doch, so something like this, yeah, kind of, do you feel cool about classics or not, you know? And I asked a friend who works there, and how was it here? Totally sold out. Totally sold out. Yeah.
So it's about marketing too.
Yes, they did a special announcement only for youth and exclusively. I think also very often when the younger people come to our concerts, and as we all know, our older audience, you know, they feel a little bit like they are not in their
Out of
society.
place.
Yeah, and then the older people are dressed for classical concert, and they want to come, you know, maybe some after training, some after you know, in some, you know, sporty shoes, or maybe someone. Yeah, exactly. So they don't. I think it's very important that they feel that there's no dress code.
and they feel welcome as they are.
Yeah. And if they want, they upload between movements. We don't mind. You know, it's okay. By the way, this uploading between movements used to be the practicing before. You know, people uploaded after something that they like. You know, even you know, like what we know from Italian opera, the top note of the singer, and then something fast orchestra plays 16 bars usually. Yeah, these 16 bars are there for people to upload after the. So people started to upload much before the piece finished. Yeah. So and it still gave some music. So I think it's also a little bit fault of the classical tradition that it developed more serious, and more
Extremely
serious.
conservative.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's definitely possible to attract younger people if we say that they are welcome.
Thank you very much for your
Yeah.
time.
No problem.